Mic check, mic check. All right, here we are. Welcome back to week 10. After this week, there's only 6 weeks left in the semester. So, again, uh, focusing on all those assignments that may be missing or late, get those in here. And focusing on the two main topics here, the muscular system and future the nervous system. So, again, we've got 6 weeks left in the semester after this. Let's kind of take a look here at what we have in the next couple of weeks. Our next exam here is going to be, November the 11th. Let's see if I can't pop that open there. So, excuse me there. All right. I'll give you the student view. So you'll see the exam will be on the 11th. I'll click that title there. So chapters 9, 10, and 11. So we're looking at joints, movement, and the muscular system. Joints, movement, and the muscular system available now. So again, in chapter 9, we'll be looking at not only joints, but also looking at movements as well. So there are, let me start with joints. There's 3 types of joints, right? Fibrous joints. Those are like the joints we see in our sutures of the skull. There are cartilaginous joints. So like your pubic symphysis is a cartilaginous joint, or the intervertebral disc is the cartilaginous joint. And there are synovial joints. And so synovial joints are the ones that primarily move. So all your fingers, arms, legs are made up of synovial joints. And so as we wrap up that chapter in terms of chapter 9, the next thing that we look at is movement, right? Movement. And so when we talk about movement, what are we talking about? Well, a flexion and extension. Flexion and extension. So let me abbreviate it here. Ab and adduction. There's a rotation that occurs, so there's usually like rotation. Oh, and then there's like side bend, or it might be referred to as like a lateral bend, lateral flexion. So again, each of these, like my elbow flexes and extends. It also has a little pronation, supination, which is a special rotary motion that goes about the forearm. And so that's kind of what we're looking at here. Chapter 9, that's our next chapter there, where we'll be looking at the different concepts related to that. The next chapter is, after that is muscle tissue. So muscle tissue, looking at the 3 different and so when we take a look at this type, then we're looking at chapter 10, muscle tissue. So primarily the 3 types of muscle tissue, characteristics of let's say skeletal muscle primarily, because skeletal muscle really takes center stage here. And then microscopic and gross anatomy of muscle. and then the steps of a muscle contraction. There's 3 primary phases that muscle contraction goes. There's excitation. There is excitation, contraction, coupling. And then the power stroke. And then chapter 11, here, we'll be looking at the muscular system. So all of the list of muscles in the body here, we'll talk about. I'll show you a list of muscles here shortly. There's a list of muscles of the body, and that list you'll be asked to know the origin of the muscle, meaning where is its proximal attachment, what is its insertion, meaning what is its distal attachment point. And so as a muscle contracts, you'll see that it causes movement. So the insertion and the origin and the insertion come closer together. And as a result, the joint, moves, or the angle across that joint moves. And so there's the action. So the action describes, okay, what joint, elbow, right? And then what is the movement, which is flexion, extension, right? Or maybe even pronation or supination, which also happens at the radial ulnar joint, or radial ulnar joint. So for the next 3 weeks here, as I mentioned, this week here, we're going to finish up taking a look at Chapter 9, joints. So we'll talk about the fibrous joints, cartilaginous joints, synovial joints. We'll overall look at movement, flexion, extension, ab and adduction, rotation, lateral flexion, and then Chapter 10, muscle tissue. We'll stretch Chapter 10 along. As we take a look at that, we're looking at the 3 different types of muscle tissues, the characteristics of skeletal muscle, the microscopic and gross anatomy of muscle, and then the steps of a muscle contraction. And then finally, the Chapter 11, muscular system, the list of muscles. What is their origin? What is their insertion? And as a result, what is the action of those muscles there? And so I'll keep it brief there. Just keeping you guys abreast of all the information that is going down. So I would encourage you guys, start looking at these different start with movements, right? Start looking at the movements. What's elbow flexion look like? What does elbow extension look like? And the big thing is that this, remember, comes from the anatomical position. So we always want to reference the anatomical position first, because that's what gives us an idea of what is happening. So even if your arm's in a different angle, we have to take it back to the anatomical position and refer to it. But I think that is it. I'm going to wrap this one up here, as we just did a review over the next section where we look at joints, movement, and muscles. So again, guys, I look forward. It's been a pleasure as always. I continue to look forward to all your responses here through the Canvas and other assessment units. But until then, take care, stay well, and again,